in for that.
Win, yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's the play that would have pushed you over the edge, and I don't know what to call it, but it's impressive that guys like him are. Last year Randall Cobb just could not step up and be the number one, but with Jordy Nelson back, all of a sudden it opens everybody else up because Jordy's great. A-Rod trusts him quite a bit, but I like Devonta Adams at 5,400 as well. I also like at the same price. I like Michael Thomas in New Orleans. At home, Drew Brees is going to do one thing all day long. He's going to throw the football.
Yep. He always does.
He's going to throw the ball. He's starting to rely on Michael Thomas. They're starting to develop a nice rapport. I think Thomas has found the end zone twice this season. He's almost got 229 yards. Here it is, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns on 21 catches.
Yeah,
nice 10-yard player.
Excuse me.
I like Michael Thomas quite a bit.
Yeah, I think he's taken the role of the tight end in years past in that offense.
He's somebody that is looked for and sought out on third down. Give me, so we can move through this, because I know we want to get to some Sunday, Monday night stuff to do those combo nights. But give me, if you would, please, give me a third wide receiver of some value. Give me that one guy.
Two deep sleepers.
Two's good. Fire away.
They're mind-boggling. Again, let's assume we went some high-dollar guys and we're looking for a cheap thrill. Number one, here is when we're going to plug in a Kansas City guy because of the Oakland matchup, and that would be Chris Conley. If you look at the various websites, whatever, everybody's high on Jeremy Maclin. But when you break down the amount of looks that they're actually getting from the quarterback, they're pretty close. I think Maclin might only have 2 more looks all year. And so while Chris Conley's yards overall, the highest amount he's had in a game are 70, but he is getting, 4, 5, 7 yards targets a game, catching most of them. So, again, with this matchup, who is Alex Smith going to be throwing to? He's going to be throwing to Chris Conley, Jeremy Maclin, Travis Kelce, and Jamal Charles. So how are you going to stop that team as a defense? You're going to take out Kelce. You don't worry about Maclin. You got to have your eyes on Jamal Charles. This is when these type of plays, these sneaky plays, rear their head. And because it's $4,600, and it's always nice. I do like stacking. And if we'd listened to our advice last week, you stacked Tom Brady and Martellus
That Patriot connection, yeah.
And you had a winning hand. Those were the 2 top scorers at their position, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they were.
Guys, but so with that being said, that's a real cheap thrill that could have dividends. And again, we put some big hitters in our lineup to where you don't need to get 20 points in this. I think this week is going to be one of the least productive overall offensive week in scoring as far as that I've seen in a long time. I'd be surprised if you get 210 points scored. I think it's going to be a 185 or a 190er. And that being said, then if we get 15 out of him, if he does what he normally does but scores, I'll gladly take that. With that being said, same conceptual thinking that we're doing, Brian Quick could do the same thing. He's against Detroit, and with the same logic of who they're going to cover, he's always the guy that can get behind the defense because you don't really know he's there because he's not the number one guy. He's not the Tavon Austin. Although Tavon Austin, like you mentioned,
I love Tavon Austin this week.
Have a great game as well because, again, they're playing a pretty porous secondary and overall passing defense, but they do have one good quarterback. So that's why, and with this, you can't beat $4,500. You can't get cheaper than $4,500.
No, you can't. Not somebody who's going to get looks.
He gets huge. He's 2-3 yard or catches a game, and he gets 50, 60 yards. And so if we can get a score in that production, then again we've won that cheap thrill lottery again. So, and that's
the
just
cheap thrill lottery. I like it. Let's jump into some tight ends.
Yeah, again, to me, it's a no-brainer with Martellus Bennett. Not Martellus Bennett. I like Delanie Walker. I'm sorry, I mistakenly have Martellus Bennett. I just was looking at him, so I read it like a fool.
Which, if he's healthy, Martellus Bennett, he is listed as questionable, but I think he's going to play. It's an ankle injury.
Yeah, and Martellus Bennett is dead, so that wouldn't be a play. But who I really like is for sure Delanie Walker. And that would be a good stack with, obviously, if we do Mariota. And probably $6,700. He's kind of pricey for a tight end, but I think he'll have the most production. Jordan Reed is out with a concussion. Greg Olsen, again, he's really expensive, $8,100. I think Delanie Walker could be the number one tight end this week.
You know what I like about some of the top tier tight ends, and it's really feast or famine with tight ends. There's not a whole lot of in between. But what I do like is when you can find guys who do get the targets, because you look around the NFL and there's some good tight ends. There really are, but they don't fit into those offensive schemes. And by that I mean they get the good guys, the Gronks of the world. Gronk's just a different player altogether. But so is Greg Olsen, so is Jordan Reed, so is Jimmy Graham when he's healthy, so is Delanie Walker, so is Martellus Bennett. But it just about ends there. Those guys are focal points in the offense. You've got another 25 other tight ends that just aren't that big of a deal in the offense. They are in the red zone. They're going to get that look down the field, but these aren't guys who are going to catch passes all day long. And a guy that I look at and I don't get it. He's got all the athletic ability. I just don't get Travis Kelce. Just doesn't seem like he's going to get the looks, but not the yardage.
Yeah, I don't know if they use him enough. That's why I like, to me, Delanie Walker is like another wide receiver, especially in that offense, how they don't have any other real wide receivers, or they haven't come up yet. I don't want to insult. It's a real young squad.
Yeah, it's just not there.
And Travis Kelce he's just like 10 points a game, you know. So
yeah, consistent.
Yeah, he is that. But I don't think, only on a couple of occasions has he really blown up. And,
that's right.
And so I like Delanie Walker more. Or you had made a point yesterday, and I like it. I hope I'm not stealing the thunder. I have to agree with you. Jimmy Graham is another great. He's coming on in Seattle, and he's someone that they've really realized they need to rely on that position because their offense was kind of, at least for years, kind of centered around they always had 2 or 3 wide receiver tight ends in a game.
And Jimmy Graham's a weapon, too, though, and they didn't take advantage of him last year, and now you know why. I think he was just hurt.
Yeah.
He wasn't a healthy player. Now he is. And now he's all of a sudden that nose for the end zone. He's the big guy fighting for the jump ball. That guy is a matchup nightmare. He's big and he's fast.
Wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know. So
physical.
Yeah, he's cheap. He's cheap given all things. If you got another $200, it might not be a stupid idea to do the exact lineup and then start one with Delanie Walker, and if you got $200 extra, start one with Jimmy Graham, and then all the same players.
Are you afraid of Russell Wilson anywhere in any of these lineups? I don't want to back up to the quarterback position, but I do, that being said.
No, because, he's been more stationary.
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to have that offense that he's been running a lot. And like I said, I think it's going to be a competitive matchup. The Seattle defense isn't quite as good as it used to be. And we saw Atlanta was able to hang, and they won, and they game planned well and dominated pretty well Denver.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I expect a good game. I expect a good game.
Football, that's for sure.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham, I'm sure will have big numbers.
You don't go 4-1 in the NFL without being a good team. I don't think you do. Very rarely do you see a team win 4 out of their first 5 and then drop 10 straight or something silly like that. They're a good team.
Yeah, exactly.
Good team. Give me a kicker.
Kicker, you can go. I'd rather go if what we're talking. When you're making your lineup, go and fill out your defense first and try to reward them before you're getting to your kicker. But when it comes down to it, if I'm making my team, I really like Jason Myers. Based upon he's on a pretty good offense that they produce against Chicago. Chicago is giving up the most points to a kicker, fantasy kickers. So to me, you're really shooting in the dark. I didn't call Vinatieri last week. I would have never known to. It's just hit or miss with kickers. But given the matchup and the cost on a team that has value in all their skill positions on offense. So I'm confident he'll get his chances. And I like the fact that Jacksonville is just almost there to where that's the offense that you want, that can move the ball a lot and then have some utility when they're in the red zone, So
I do. I'm going to give you my kicker, and it's a homer call, but I like Seabass this week. I like Sebastian Janikowski. I liked him last week. He actually got me into the right place with a few plays last week. This is a game in Oakland against the Chiefs that I can see where the Raider offense may stall out a few times. They've had a tendency to do so. And the scary thing is this is an offense that's going to go for two whenever it feels like it. And I think that's really exciting to watch. It's bad for your fantasy kicker. But Seabass has the potential to whack you 250-yarders in a game, and that makes up for missing one extra point when he can slap 10 on you with 250-yard field goals. It's potential. It always is there. So I'm going to take Seabass as my kicker in these.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's only $100 more, so I would think you probably have that left.
It leaves you just enough for that defense, and I like your suggestion about picking your defense first because the kicker you can manipulate that a little bit better. But defense, you're really searching for that perfect matchup, and you and I really agreed to the point of a cheers and a toast over this one. I love the Buffalo Bills defense, and so do you.
Yeah, I'm all about it. It's the last week, and we had joked about it, and for the sake of it's a good story, so we're going to repeat it quickly. If I would have them last week, I had a number of lineups where I took the advice that I gave our friends out there, and I started Buffalo, and then when I talked privately, you had given me some better advice. It actually made more sense. You had reminded me that, obviously, Matt Stafford had played bad the last game. The defense, or obviously the whole team, Philadelphia didn't have to travel as far, so they didn't have to go through the changing of the time zones and all that rigmarole. And so, and Philly's a great defense. They just done what they did to Pittsburgh, and they really looked intimidating to me. So I was like, okay, let's do it.
What you did take into account is that I drink a lot of booze.
That's fine. Well, like I said, I'm not making that mistake this week, even if we talk again and I like the Bills, 4,800 again. They're the most expensive one, tied. But they are badass. They're near the top or the top in every defensive category. So with that being said, plus I really want to see them knock Colin Kaepernick's dick in the dirt for not standing during the national anthem. And him getting the start.
You just might.
I don't think he's the same player.
Don't think for 1 second that playing in Buffalo will be easy. You had mentioned it last night on our crap recording that this is a blue-collar town. There's a lot of crazy fans in Buffalo that are hard-working, blue-collar, getting your ass up at 5 in the morning and trudging through the snow to go to work. These are people that are hardened, and living in the cold weather for some years will do that to you. So they're going to look at some things that he's done. They don't care, and it's not being dismissive, and we won't ever discuss politics of any kind in this show.
No.
But
I think
this is a fan base that's not going to...
You touched on it earlier with your logic that was sound about LaShawn McCoy. Rex Ryan is a true American like that, and
he's going to listen to his players.
It crossed his mind. You know it did.
Yeah, it does. And if he's going to do something, Rex Ryan is not a people pleaser by any means, but he wants to please his players. He is, I think he's a little off the wall, or maybe even a lot off the wall, but he's probably a very good leader. And in the clubhouse, for a period of time, I could see where guys really do want to run through a wall, the proverbial wall. They want to run through it for him. I get that for a little while. I think his voice has an expiration date after about 4 seasons. But when takes LaShawn McCoy out, sits him down, and says, I'm going to give you the rock, and this is your opportunity, and I'm your coach, and I'm standing up for you, and you got it. It's yours. Go.
And the cool thing about that is there's no conflict either with the performance that LaShawn McCoy is going to do this Sunday. There's no conflict with that and with what Buffalo's going to do defensively. So that's why I like
really is.
You always want to take that into account, too, if you're going to cancel yourself out. Your logic that you used earlier. Are you going to start your quarterback and then hope he throws 4 touchdowns, and then where the touchdown's going to go from the running back? You think they're going to score 6 or 7 touchdowns in the NFL?
Sure.
I mean, it does on occasion, but don't hold your breath.
Yeah, don't count on it. You could wait a decade, and that may never happen.
Yeah, but with the Buffalo in all the variables on the table, I think they're the strongest start. If you have